Bad game enthusiasts in the audience may be familiar with Mystery of the Druids, a 2001 point-and-click adventure that is legendary for its convoluted puzzles, inconvincing plot, and thoroughly detestable characters. That debut title from its dev team House of Tales has been dissected by channels far more successful than mine, so in this episode I decided to go into uncharted territory and look at the same team's last point-and-click effort. 63% on Metacritic and 3.1 out of 5 at Good Old Games, but only 31% positive reviews on Steam. This is 15 days. Released in 2009 or 2010 depending on the source, this game has many of the same people as in Mystery of the Druids, including its creative director and writer Martin Kandefur and development director Tobias Krachte, who had done either narrative or technical work in the dev teams in between better received adventures The Moment of Silence and Overlook A History of Violence, plus project leader Markus Wojcik, previously done the same stuff for Car Tycoon and Dawn of Discovery aka Anno 1404. But enough of this intro sequence that fits better for a spy thriller. Let's get to the outskirts of London, Great Britain, where we meet our merry band of art thieves. They do donate their money to charity, so that makes everything okay. They are Catherine Hope, a hopeful idealist with daddy issues, Bernard Vaele, a Belgian art interest guy who is the most level-headed, which is certainly needed with Mike Mensforth, a computer nerd who, based on his material, was booed out of every stand-up competition. They are played by, well, I don't know, they only credit German voiceovers and even then not their roles. What comes to that English dub's quality, it isn't that stellar. I mean, it is competent, but it also feels listless. That same description can be said from the audiovisuals that have a washed out color palette with stiff character models and animations, and the soundscape. Oh boy, I will get to that. The plot nudges forward when our wannabe Robin Hoods get a gig offer from a mysterious African dude, which African nation we specified later, who has promised double the usual wages if they steal something from London Modern Museum. Catherine along with Mike's Ferris wheel stopping Gizmo go to meet him at the local Ferris wheel, and we get to introduce to the game's first real puzzle. And when I say real puzzle, I don't mean the finding the next plot forwarding trigger kind that the game's first 20 to 30 minutes and several other quieter moments consist of. Here Mike must match his machine's frequency with the wheels. Just go with it. But allow me to direct your attention to the clock in the upper right corner. At first I thought this is how long you have time to complete the puzzle, but that's not its purpose. Instead, if you are unable to solve a puzzle in 2 minutes, you receive the option to skip it. Talk about the quality of life improvement. From design standpoint, this solution is of course utter poppycock, because in smoother experiences this is dealt with hint systems. Best of them are non-intrusive, and they give hints that are significantly helpful, but still vague enough that they can give player satisfaction for being able to solve a conundrum. The game itself doesn't explain this system at all, so those who are not in the know have a false sense of urgency, and those who do know how it works, well, I just started to more rely on it the further the game went on, because I started to get tired of these games, well, let's call them quirks for the lack of a better non-cussy word. The painting the gang's new client wants them to steal is the portrait of Winston Churchill, and in order to get to know what this painting looks like so they can show it to their forger friend for replica making purposes, we get introduced to another regular puzzle type. Search information from the internet. All you have to do is to guess the right search term and get that one result that is about the search subject and not some random lorem ipsum nonsense. At least in this case they are logical and don't require hyper-specific knowledge, unlike this later deduct how this car license plate was faked puzzle. Speaking of the deducing character, he is Special Agent Jack Stern from USA, who is sent to Britain to investigate the mysterious death of the British Foreign Minister, and then starts to go after the art thieves when it seems that they may be indirectly connected to it. He's the classic worker and alcoholic divorcee who is despised by his superiors and colleagues alike for his unorthodox methods, but those same methods also get results, so his existence is begrudgingly tolerated.
I've got a cell phone number for one of them. We can work out their exact location with that.
How did you get into their apartment?
Excuse me? Sorry, the line just went.
You didn't break in, did you?
Let's just talk about the cell phone number, okay?
Damn it, Stern, you're getting us all into deep water.
He's usually few steps behind the Ocean's 3 by unfortunate circumstances, which technically makes Jack my favorite character, but only because I feel pity towards him instead of contempt that I feel for the rest of the cast. Usually they are nondescript or they bicker with each other, which makes me wonder why they are even friends in the first place.
Let's go in there, get the painting and go home.
Would you stop whinging, Mum?
Really? Sometimes you're like a little kid. All right. So, let us now, with this elevated historical backdrop, perform the break-in of our lives. Is that better?
Granted, they are better people than a Mystery of the Druids rampantly sociopathic lead, though not as memorable. And you have to hear their conversations a lot because of this game's abysmally slow pacing. The whole planning process of the heist is gone through in excessive detail, from checking the entrances, going through the museum, getting card fingerprints and so on, all while the murder investigation with Jack is going on at the same time, and they both are so boringly mundane. Yes, even something like Jack ordering plane tickets and receiving a surveillance van at the airport are playable portions instead of a quick cutscene, or better yet, off-screen events. At least when something like Still Life stops the plot in order to do police procedures, it keeps up the tension with suspenseful atmosphere that this game can't hope to achieve. Aside from sterility, the sound is also improperly mixed, and despite adjusting settings, talking was constantly too quiet. Culminating to this club scene at Paris France where it got so bad I had to turn subtitles on in order to understand what they were saying. Oh yeah, after successfully completing the London gig, the arsehole Lupins are then asked to do a similar robbing job at the Musée de Paris, this time the target being a portrait of George Washington. And here where it all starts to fall apart. Sure, the problems in narrative and puzzle planning didn't do this game any favors either, but at least the code hadn't turned into spaghetti mush. After Catherine goes to Mike, the cultural highwaymen start with the same routine of checking security measures beforehand, while Jack tries to fumble his way into any kind of breakthrough. Part of that routine is getting to know the catacombs that will later moonlight as a labyrinth puzzle, which, to be fair, is fairly smart with determining the right direction from the compass, but it is clunky to go through. Long before that, the game suddenly crashes in the beginning of a cutscene, thus introducing the infamous buffer overrun bug that will from now on pester the gaming experience. I get that the development studio was about to get close, so they probably had to hastily churn this game together, but not often have I faced such coding negligence in a retail version. There is a user-made patch for it, but I didn't get it to work, so I had to resort to the other solution of skipping the offending cutscenes. As I started to miss important story scenes, I finally decided I no longer cared where this is going and walked away. As hilarious as that later battle scene in the Ferris wheel was. There is a full 5-hour playthrough on World of Longplay's channel that has all the bugged out cutscenes intact. So I have no idea what kind of witchcraft they pulled in order to make it work. According to it, I was about an hour away from the ending credits, but considering it took me about 6 hours to get to that point, yeah, I doubt I could breeze it through smoothly. But nothing I ever do is pointless, and 15 days is certainly a worthy showcase of the Kusoge spirit I came to look from this show. There were probably lots of stuff stacked against it, which left the sorry thing in technically shaky state. Even if the code was more carefully put together, the story moves in snail's pace and could use heavy skimming of dead air. Not to mention characters are generally listless, unlikable whiners. Audio visuals aren't fully incompetent, but they do lack spark, and some of the puzzles can be fun to solve in right circumstances, namely if I could get invested in this boring dribble. When all these lackluster elements are combined, it is easy to see why this game is largely forgotten in favor of its older brother that has bigger camp value. After 15 days, Mr. Schiaccia and Wojcik didn't stay in the industry for much longer. The former only managed the team's final project, a hidden object game Curse of the Ghost Ship, while the latter actually bounced back with a Jane Jensen vehicle Grey Matter. But then exited soon after with another potential future episode subject Shadow Harvest Panthemops. Mr. Gundefer, on the other hand, was the main creative force for a much better received 2018 sci-fi adventure State of Mind, and these days is a professor teaching game development. Good for him. But professor or not, today's undeniable disaster easily gets a place in my bottom 100 list. Which means that I get to move closer to a list that has no 5 out of 10 games, as I get to remove Darkwing Duck. Yes, the 8-bit Nintendo one. I've never played the actually infamous TurboGrafx 16 version. It's an alright ROM, a bit stiff, but there's some fun to be found, especially if you allow some quality of life improvements Disney Afternoon Collection brings with it. I do wonder if Professor Hartefieur's students make fun of this game. More likely they pester him with Mystery of the Druids memes.
In my country, termites are seen as the incarnation of the dead. The holes in their towers lead to the spirit world. Isn't that strange? No matter how high the towers grow, they still lead to the underworld. And no matter how high this big wheel turns, its foundations remain the dust of the